This is the video for personal budgeting. If you are in my personal financial planning class at LBCC, it is BA 218. This is going to be for budgeting assignment 1. If you are not in that class, this is general budgeting basic guidelines. So what I'm going to show is a template, which I will link below, for being able to um, budget utilizing an Excel or Google Sheets spreadsheet. With that in mind, this already has formulas set up so you can do a few different things, but the main goal with this type of budgeting, this very basic level budgeting, is to get you to have everything written down on paper. That can be digital paper. It's whatever you are going to use um, continuously. So I happen to do some of both. I use a little bit of paper and then I also use, and I will actually show you that as well. And then I will also use a spreadsheet, but it really depends on what works for you and anybody that is involved in your budgeting. So if you have a partner that you live with, whether you're married to them or not, they should be part of this conversation and they should be helping you work together to come up with a budget for your self, for your family situation, whatever that is. If you have roommates, maybe you guys work together to create a roommate budget on communal items. So in your case, you would have two. You'd have your personal budget, which I'm going to show you in a second, and then you would also have a budget that is going to work with a roommate or roommates. So you guys are on the same page about how much you guys are spending on food, who's buying the food, when is the food being purchased, how is the internet and other utilities being paid for, how is the rent being covered, and any other communal items can be within this budget. And then you'll have a separate budget for you personally that shows a line item in expenses down here that is contribution to communal budget or contribution to roommate budget, however you want to do that. So the way this particular budget works, put your information up here. You can run this on whatever cycle you want to. We are starting today for October 2024. So you could decide to rearrange these months and start October through to 2025 September. It's completely up to you. But you want to put income sources up here at the top and then also in the monthly values. And those can be individuals if there's more than one person contributing to the budget, or those can be sources. Maybe your sources are financial aid and your job. So if that's the case, you can do it in that order as well. But you want all your sources of income or all of your uh, individual people's income listed in this top section. We're looking at, and what I do is I do this top section last. So start over here with the monthlies. So if we're looking at John and Mary, maybe we switch this to financial aid and spell aid correctly and job, and your job income is going to be consistent. Maybe you get $1,500 a month, so you can put 1,500 in here. And if you're not familiar with your Excel or spreadsheet tools, just get it to do this little plus sign over the dot and then drag it that direction and it'll switch everything for you. Then maybe your financial aid you only get 3 times a year. So you got financial aid of say $20,000 in January, but then you don't get any in February You don't get any in March, then you get another $20,000 in April. And then again, you don't get any May, June, July, August, and then you get the 20,000 again in September. And so whatever those sources of income, especially if they're sporadic, you want to put in that order. Okay. And then once you've got all your sources of income in, I want you to put your expenses in. So your expenses, taxes is going to be one that if you have a 1099 business or your own personal business, like an LLC, a sole proprietorship, something like that, taxes have not been taken out for you, so you need this tax line. If you only have W-2 income, you don't have to put this in because you can start your budget with your after tax, what actually comes into your bank account. Okay. Then you're going to put any expenses you have beyond that. Maybe you have a car payment. Maybe you have rent. Maybe you have, say your rent is $800 a month. Maybe you have credit cards. Maybe you have food contributions. Maybe like what we talked about, we're going to put in roommate contribution. And your roommate contribution is an extra, you have $300 a month because you all pay individual rent. And then you're going to add things in. Instead of having a mortgage here, you've got school. And you're going to pay school around the same time as you end up getting your financial aid. So maybe your school's 18,000, then delete out other things. And I know this number is going to switch, but you want to do this for everything that you have available to you. The more information you have in here, the better. What tends to happen is we accidentally leave things out. We maybe forget our Netflix subscription or we forget our phone, and you can just keep adding in rows in here until you've got everything. You can do, let's see, phone, subscriptions, gas / maintenance on your car, anything and everything that you're spending money on some sort of regular basis. And like I said, that can include that needs to include everything that you're spending money on, even if you think that it's inconsequential. It helps us track where our money is going, because if we don't track where our money is going, it just tends to find a place to go on its own, which creates a problem, right? Because then we don't know where things have went. So when I started budgeting after I realized that we had filed taxes on $80,000 back in 2015, and I could not tell you where it went. We were living in a really crappy house. We were barely scraping by. We weren't paying all of our bills. It was a mess. And so I finally, because nobody ever taught me how to do this, I finally started putting together our budget, and now I know where all the money goes. I know when it goes. I have vacation funds, and we'll talk about that in the next video. I have all of these really cool things that I can do because I know where the money is, what exists, what doesn't exist, and how to function. So as you filled out this monthly values section, you'll see a couple of things. You'll see the net cash flow section in here, and notice that there are negatives. That's fine. That tells us what's happening with your money now, and then we can figure out from there how to fix it. So if you have negatives, it's totally fine. If you have a savings balance, please put it in there. what this is going to do is it's looping through. So this person started, or this family started with $900, and they had a little bit of extra cash flow from their financial aid that is then going into savings, and then it covers this negative number for the next couple of months until they get the next payment. So they're covering all of their expenses, not in the best way that they possibly could be, but they're covering it. This is set up to where you can figure out a mortgage payment if you know your information on that. This is only going to give you the base mortgage payment. It's not going to give you the amount that you're actually paying right now, because the amount you're actually paying is going to include potentially mortgage insurance, which we'll talk about in the insurance video. It's going to potentially include homeowners insurance. It should include homeowners insurance, and then it should also include property taxes. So if you calculate out that this is your mortgage payment, and that's $400 less than what you're actually paying, it's because we've got other things being paid that are not included in this. You can also use this little section for figuring out your car payments if you want to do that. And then the only other thing that I like to tell people is if you have power bill, gas bill, water bill, something that fluctuates from month to month, I want you to go back for the last 12 months and write down all of those. So if we're going, months one, and one being January, and oops, we are going to literally go in and that is not what I am trying to do. Highlight them both. Thank you. Go in and figure out all of our different months on how much we paid. So say this is a power bill, and in January we paid $355, and in February we paid $327, and then in March we paid $299. Figure out what all those numbers are, and then I want you to sum them. So the sum formula here is just equals sum, open parentheses, fill in everything you want, and then divide by 12. That's going to give us an average. That's what I want you to put in there. It's going to be easier to budget if we're budgeting off of an average cost than if we're trying to go, okay, it's $355 in January, but next January the rates went up, so then it's $370 and I didn't budget for that. It's easier if we average it out. So we'll work more with this in the next while of videos. So I'm going to stop sharing and show you guys a different screen. Here. I'm going to show you this screen. So this is my personal budget, and the reason I'm showing it to you is that we can make it as complicated or as not complicated as we want to. So I have tons and tons of pages. I've got a debts page in here. I've got credit cards. I've got my household. I've got a payoff schedule for when I want to be debt free and doing a snowball. It can be as complicated or as simple as we want it to be. I am going to show you one other thing too. If you want to do this in a written form, we can do it in a written form as well, and I'll put this out for you. I'll put this link as well. This is a document that I created. Let me share it for you. This is a document that I created that you can have access to on how to do this using a calendar. So, and I have one for 1099s if you have 1099 or sporadic incomes as well. Basically what you're going to do, this is an example, you're going to write your days of the month, you're going to write when people are getting paid, and then when different things come out, and things like car gas and groceries. Maybe you every Monday you fill up your tank, you go get groceries. So put it in there. Then what you can do is you can figure out who can cover what things based upon who's getting paid when. And the goal here is that we have, a zero remaining balance. That's because we've given every dollar a place to go. So in this case, this person puts $260 in savings, and then they don't have any when Jenny gets paid, but then they have 150 and then 90 to go into savings. That's because we're saving this for when we don't have enough to pay our bills. So I'm going to link a few different documents at the bottom of the video for you, but all of these things are accessible for you to use. Those ones were print documents. The Excel spreadsheet is actually it's a sheet spreadsheet, but you can download it into Excel if you want to do that, and the formulas will work the same. But that's the goal, is to have everything all in one place, and that we are doing what's called a net zero budget. So every dollar has a place, and we're not just floating leftover money about, because leftover money without a direction, and that direction can be going to the movies, going out to eat, paying for your dog, whatever that is. um you just choose what that direction is. Okay. And then watch the next videos to figure out your next steps.